Well, this is the Mercedes GLA. Well, it's not the GLA, but it is the electric version of the GLA. It's called the EQA, and nobody really knows what the words EQA stand for. But in my mind, it stands for excellent quality of vehicle in electric format. This really is a great car. We'll tell you why it's so good. But the best point about this car is going to be its sticker price. The entry level into the Mercedes electric car range expected to start from roughly 60 lakh rupees ex showroom. So let's now start with this car, tell you about the looks, tell you about the interiors, tell you how it is to drive, and then finally tell you why you should consider buying this car. My name is Ashish Masi. Well, let's quickly have a look at the front end of the car. You get this huge Mercedes logo which you can't miss, and of course a star-studded grille. The Mercedes three-pointed star is studded into the grille. You also get this LED beam over here which connects the front lamps, and of course a little bit of chrome over here towards the bottom end of the bumper, and of course sensors as well, and a camera is placed over here because this car does come with a lot of sensors, and it really is a very subtly classy design. It's a very classy looking car, and it's quite similar of course to the GLA, which is the baby SUV in the Merc lineup. I think the front end looks really smashing. What do you have to say? Let me know in the comments. Now let's check out the side and then the back end. Well, when you view this car from the side angle, you can see that it's exactly the same like the regular GLA, so there isn't major difference. You of course get this nice bit of chrome all across the windows, and of course chrome handlebars as well. The big difference is that you get a different set of alloy wheels. Now at the moment, if my cameraman will pan over here, you can see a peacock over here which has its feathers all opened up, and of course this is the monsoon season. We are at the famous Rambagh Palace in Jaipur, and no better place to test out a luxury car than a luxury hotel in the middle of one of the best cities in the country. So talking about the car once again, you get 19-inch wheels and a very different set of alloy wheels compared to the regular version of the car. Now the reason for this is simple, and these wheels are actually designed for aerodynamic efficiency, which makes this car's range quite good. Now officially Mercedes claims a range in excess of 500 kilometers, which really means that you can take this car from Delhi to Chandigarh and bring it back as well, or you can actually take it from Jaipur to Delhi and bring it back as well without having to recharge it at any point of time. Isn't that brilliant? And does any other car at this price point offer you this kind of a range? Well, I don't think so. Well, so let's quickly have a look at the rear end of the car. Now, of course, you get this huge beam of light connecting the rear tail lamps, and this is a design which really is catching on internationally. There's a little bit of chrome as well, and of course, blackened out bumper at the rear to break the monotony of the same color, and a little bit of chrome. The chrome elements right across the car have been added very subtly, so it looks very classy. It doesn't really look very overbearing, and sometimes this is exactly the kind of chrome and exactly the kind of detailing that you need on your luxury car. Now, since we're at the back, let's also have a look at the boot. You open it by pressing this Mercedes logo, and of course it's a powered tailgate, so you don't have to do any kind of exercise to open it up. The loading sill is absolutely flat, so there's no loading sill at all. There's no big you don't need to really keep your bags like this. You can easily slide them in and slide them out. As you can see, we've got two large pieces of suitcase and one medium-sized suitcase as well over here, and it really is quite a good trunk compared to its rivals, and of course a very good sized trunk, especially considering the shape and size of this car. You also get lamps at the back, and of course you also get some hooks over here so that you can keep your odds and ends, and a 12-volt charging point is also available in case you want to inflate your tires and use a tire inflator. Here's the button to close the boot. Now let's jump inside the front and show you what the interiors are like on the new Mercedes EQA. Well, so getting inside the cabin of the EQA is a great time to remind yourself what a great cabin the GLA also has, because this interior is pretty much the same, and really even the GLA is blessed with a very good interior, just like this car. Of course, you get two digital cages over here. This one of course is for the driver display, and this one is for the infotainment, so lots of things to choose very easy to use. All menus, sub-menus, everything is really marked very well. You can of course change the ambient color because this car has a lot of mood lighting, so you can change the color of the lighting. Ambient lighting can be changed. You can of course connect your devices, Apple CarPlay and Auto, and do a host of other activities. Now there are lots of peacocks, a lot of other birds around the area, so in case you're getting a little bit of those noises on the background, please do excuse me for that, but that is the part that you get if you stay in such a beautiful natural environment. Anyways, talking about beautiful environments, this place really is brilliant. Everything has been executed very well. So of course you get the Burmeister sound system, which is really the best in the business and a big highlight of any Mercedes car. 3 AC vents in the center, and again, attention to detail is fantastic. This champagne color really looks very good and very classy. It's a very understated tone of elegance that this car has. You of course get all these buttons over here which have a very nice feel. These of course are for the AC, and the steering wheel also is very good to grip. Now, when Mercedes talks about sustainability and sustainable mobility, it's not just about electric vehicles, it's also about the interiors, and the seats have been made by using plastic bottles. Yes, recycled plastic bottles have been used for the materials of these seats, which again shows you how committed Mercedes is to carbon neutrality, which they want to achieve by 2039. So that's also not far, but that's something that they want to achieve. You get this nice little panel over here which has the Mercedes logos in that star-studded display, and of course light does come out from here. Ambient lighting comes out from here, which looks very classy at night. We will show you some of those images as well. Big sunroof, in fact 2 of them, one over here and one at the back, and the seats themselves are very good in terms of comfort, very good in terms of overall support. The steering wheel, one area where I still think that they could have improved is by removing these touch panels which they still use on the ICE cars as well, and that's something which you can accidentally press. Some buttons over here can be pressed when you're moving around, or maybe you're trying to honk, and then you might just put on the stereo, or you might just call up somebody, or you might just put on the cruise control function over here. Now this car also gets a lot of ADAS features, blind spot assist, lane departure warning and stuff like that is available, and of course you also get the brilliant Mercedes connected car apps which help you and your loved ones stay safe and entertained when they're on that long distance journey. In terms of the overall scoring, I'll give the interior of this car a very strong score of 10 out of 10. Don't forget that this car comes with 7 airbags, which makes it very safe, and also, as I just said, it has that ADAS suite, which makes it a great car for your family in terms of the safety. Now let's jump in the back seat and see how good that really is. Well, now let's quickly talk about the back seat of this car. Now the batteries in the car are placed partially below the seats over here. So in order to give you better headroom, what Mercedes has done is that they've lowered the base of the seat down. So as you can see, the base and the floor, it doesn't really have too much of a gap, and what essentially that means is that your knee and hip angle is not really at a 90 degree, so you're not sitting with the knees down, you're sitting with your knees pretty much up, and that makes it not the best or not the most ideal car for long distance journeys because underside support is slightly compromised. This is one area where the GLA is slightly better because the seats are slightly higher, which means that you do have slightly better comfort over here. That said, you of course get decent amount of space. The floorboard is almost flat, there's a bit of a hump, but it's not too much. 2 big AC vents, and of course 2 USB-C type charging points, one place where you can keep your cell phone or your wallet depending on what you want, and of course a little bit of a place over here where you can keep your odds and ends. The windows are nice and large, and of course you get the same Burmeister sound system speakers placed over here which you get in the front, so the sound quality is good. But yes, I wish that the seats were slightly higher because this for long distance journeys can be a little annoying, and it's not really the most comfortable place to be in because the seat placement is pretty much close to the floor. Well, so let me tell you about the compromise in the boot. Now, as you can see, you can open the boot by pressing this logo over here. You can press it, and it's a powered tailgate, so that's a positive thing. You don't have to put too much of an effort. Now, the good point is that the loading sill is absolutely flat, so you don't really have to heave in those bags. You can just pull them out like this or push them in again. But that said, the battery again takes up a little bit of space in the boot. So even though in isolation it's a nice and large boot, it has a lot of place to keep your luggage and your stuff, but in isolation it isn't as good or as generous as the one on the GLA, so that's a bit of a compromise you have to make when you drive electric. Anyways, now let's shut this car down, or the boot down, and take it out for a spin. Well, so now I'm driving the Mercedes EQA, and before I start off this drive, let me just give you a small request. Let me just tell you about a small message, and that is always wear your seatbelt. Whether you're sitting in the front, in the passenger seat, or at the back, always ensure that everybody inside the car is wearing a seatbelt, because the seatbelt is your first device of safety. You can have 7 airbags, 8 airbags, multiple safety options, but the seat belt is your primary safety device inside any car. And if you're not having this device inside, then it can be quite dangerous. So always wear your seat belt. Now let's take this car out for a spin. Now the Mercedes EQA comes with a 72 watt kilowatt battery pack, which is quite decent. It has a range of about 560 kilometers, which again is quite good. And as I said, you can do Delhi to Chandigarh and back in this car without having to recharge. You can also do Jaipur to Delhi and come back without having to stop for a recharge. So that's something which is quite commendable. And 0 to 100 comes up in a very sharp 8.5 seconds. So that is also quite brilliant. You can also have fast charging options where you can, of course, fill up the battery pack, 80% of the battery pack in about 30 minutes or so. So that's also something which a lot of youngsters who are buying these cars are always wary about. They can also, feel happy that they won't be wasting too much time at the charging station. Now, you also get paddle shifters behind the steering wheel. Now, you might say, why am I getting paddle shifters? Because this car doesn't have, any gearbox. This, of course, is for the recuperation mode. So, if you use the one on the right over here, you can reduce the modes. And, of course, if you use the one over here on the left, then you can increase it. So that's something which is quite good on this car, and something which a lot of customers will really appreciate. So you can also use this car in one pedal technology. If you use the strong recuperation mode, then all you have to do is use the accelerator pedal and use a strong recuperation mode, so that your car comes to a halt on its own, like I'm trying to do now. And as you can see, there's a red light up ahead and the car has already come to a standstill or really slowed down. So that's something you can do. Acceleration, as expected from an EV, is phenomenal. But what is also very good is the overall ride comfort. Yes, usually because of the extra battery pack, manufacturers tend to stiffen up the suspension on their cars, and that is something which a lot of manufacturers do. But Mercedes has really found the best balance between ride as well as agility. The ride comfort on this car is quite good. It soaks in the bumps quite well, but it also feels very good and very stable when you drive it on the highway. So at higher speeds, at faster speeds, this car really does feel very confidence inspiring and gives you a sense of very good positivity and a sense of security as well. What else is there to like about this car? Well, the sound quality inside is very good. And what do I mean by sound quality? Not only the sound quality of the stereo, but also the overall quiet nature of the cabin. It just keeps all those noises, all those bad sounds outside. So trucks and bus and all those noises, they don't enter the cabin at all, which makes it a very quiet and peaceful place to be in. Now, in terms of steering wheel, it's quite a good steering wheel as well. Just like the GLA, it's accurate, it's well weighed, and if you push it into corners, there is very minimal body roll, but it's always under control. And of course, the overall size and the dimensions of this car are also quite good, which means that it's quite easy to maneuver this car within the city. So that's also something which a lot of customers will really appreciate. And being the right size car, I think it's the right size car. It's not too large, it's not too small. Means that when you're driving in traffic, especially on a road like this where we're driving in and around the Jaipur area where there's a lot of traffic, if you're driving it around these places, even then you will be quite happy in this car. So overall, what I'm trying to say is that this is a great little package, and you'll really enjoy this car. I think in the driving department, I'll give it a strong score of 92 out of 100. It really is a very crispy package. The front end, design-wise, it gets a good score of 9 out of 10. The back seat is the only area where it's slightly missing out, and I'll give it a score of only 7 out of 10. The front end, again, the front cabin, I'll give it 10 out of 10. So in totality, what is the sum? We'll stop the car and give you a summary report. Well, so what's my overall summary report about the Mercedes EQA? I have to say that this car really does build on the strengths of the GLA on EV platform. The best point about buying this car, slightly cheaper to own in the long term than the ICE version of the car. The reason for that, of course, is that servicing is much lower. And of course, the other thing is that Mercedes is giving you 60% residual values of this car once you sell it after 4 years. And all those things added up means that the price of this car will come out to be around 2.5 to 3 lakh rupees cheaper compared to the ICE version after 4 years, which makes it very good value. The other good point about this car is, of course, the interiors, and of course the ride comfort is truly exemplary. And in short, what I'm trying to say, that if you're in the market for your first ever luxury EV SUV, then look no further than the Mercedes EQA. I'll give it a strong score of 92 out of 100. A lot of middle class people, a lot of folks like you and me, who really are saving each and every penny, doing their monthly SIPs, doing their monthly installments for mutual funds. For them, it really is the entry into a luxury sedan. Well, so the big question in 2024 is that should you consider buying a sedan, and in particular, should you consider buying the Honda City? Now, the City badge has been a tried and tested badge for over 25 years in the Indian market. It really has proved its record in terms of reliability, in terms of performance, in terms of fuel efficiency, in terms of backseat experience. It really is the benchmark. And in today's video, we'll talk about all the positives, maybe a few negatives as well, and tell you whether you should still consider buying this car or whether you should follow the trend, follow the herd mentality and go for that mid-size or compact SUV instead. Well, so when it comes to the backseat experience, no other car in this segment beats the Honda City. And in fact, a lot of cars in the entry or the mid-size SUV segment also don't come close. In fact, it's the best car if you have a budget of 20 lakh rupees for the backseat experience. And what do I mean by that? Well, as you can see, kneeroom is sufficient. It's pretty good actually. Headroom also is more than adequate for someone who's my height, which for reference is 5'10". But apart from that, the backrest angle is very good. The overall seat cushioning is very good. Support for your low back is very good. And of course, you also get an armrest where you can keep a couple of beverages. The floorboard, it's got a little hump, but it's not too much. So it's really a floorboard which can easily accommodate the feet of all three occupants at the back. You get your own AC vents as well. And the best point about this car is the fact that the window area is nice and large, which really gives it a very premium, very airy feel. In fact, I think that this is a great way to enter the luxury segment, because a lot of middle class people, a lot of folks like you and me, who really are saving each and every penny, doing their monthly SIPs, doing their monthly installments for mutual funds. For them, it really is the entry into a luxury sedan, and I think that this car is the best in the business when it comes to pure comfort as well as opulence. I'll give the back seat of this car a strong score of 11 out of 10. Now let's jump in the front seat and tell you some more details, some positives and some negatives about the City. Let me just say that forget SUVs, just forget all the SUVs out there and buy this car on its own pure merits. A lot of people used to buy the Honda City. It used to be a very loved car, but suddenly the rage for SUVs made people go mad and people started, just going for SUVs, whether it was a pseudo SUV or a hatchback on stilts, or whether, it was a genuine SUV. People don't care, but they just want that SUV body style. So I would suggest you forget that SUV look, SUV body style, and simply go for the Honda City. Now, there are lots of reasons to like it, but let's start off with the negatives first, because if I don't start with the negatives, then you might say that Honda has paid me money to say only positive things. So the first big negative that this car has to offer is the ground clearance. Yes, the ground clearance of this car isn't the best. It's not the best in terms of, driving on broken patches of road or driving on the highway. It's quite good for driving in the city. Driving in the city isn't an issue at all. But when you want to take it out for that long distance journey, then the ground clearance is something which can be a bit of a negative thing, because it can just bottom out in some place. It can just hit some rough patches of road. So the bad ground clearance definitely made its presence felt when I was driving this car recently, driving this car from Delhi up to the hills, and I could feel this car, it did, scratch a few badly patched roads. It did feel like the underbelly did scratch a few of those badly patched roads. So that's something which is the best on this car, and that's something which has to be improved, because a lot of people use these cars for highway trips as well on a regular basis, and it's really on the highway that you can find out that some of those badly patched roads do scratch the underbelly of this car. So that's one big negative. The second big negative, and one area of major improvement for the Honda City, is in the fact that this car needs a better touchscreen. Yes, this current touchscreen is okay, it's decent, it's okay to operate, but it's not really that good. It needs a better touchscreen. It needs better sound quality. The interiors, because it's a premium car, it's a posh car, it falls into the entry luxury segment. Definitely, it needs a better sound system and a much better touchscreen. The current one, it's difficult to navigate through. The menus, sub-menus are very average, and really, The fonts, the design, everything feels very outdated. So that's another area of weakness for this car, especially if you consider the Hyundai Verna, which is really good. It's got a very slick touchscreen. And also, if you consider the VW and Skoda range of cars, they aren't the best, but definitely they're better than the Honda City's infotainment unit, the Honda City's touchscreen. So that's something which also is one area where Honda needs to improve. Well, apart from all this, Honda also needs to improve on the air conditioning. The air conditioning on this car is okay if you are, driving in about 38 or 36 or 39 degrees. But once it goes beyond 41, 42 degrees, it does take a long time to chill the cabin. So that's something which I think Honda needs to improve on. I think, Honda has improved it quite a bit over the years, but I think it still needs to improve a little bit, because this year the summers in Delhi and the northern part of India have been brutal, to say the least. So that's also one department where Honda needs to improve and make the city an all-round package, because that's one area of big weakness for the Honda City. Now, sit back and grab a popcorn packet or something, because there are lots of positives as well to talk about this car. Now, the first big positive is the fact that this car offers you a very nice and peppy petrol engine. Yes, this engine is a phenomenal unit, 1.5 non-turbo, naturally aspirated, no hybrid system with this engine. Of course, there's a hybrid version available, but that's another car. This one is with a manual. There's also an automatic option, but we'll talk about the automatic on some other day. It's a phenomenal engine. A lot of other car companies, the accountants or the marketing people are deciding what goes into the car, what doesn't go into the car. But when it comes to Honda, I think the engineers have their say. I think the engineers just design it the way they want it to be, and it shows. As soon as you start this car, the engine comes alive and it makes you feel very good, because it's a very responsive engine, it's a very quiet engine, and the iVTEC engine is a very rev happy engine. It goes all the way up to its red line, about 6,500 RPM without any fuss. So if you are somebody who's a boy racer and he just loves to rev and go from red light to red light, zip around, don't do it. But in case you want to do that, you will have some fun in this car. Also on the highway, because it has a 6th gear, the flexibility of the engine is greatly enhanced. So what that means is that noise levels are very minimal inside the cabin, and fuel efficiency also is greatly enhanced. Yes, this car delivered me about 17 kph on the highway, which are very good figures, and I did a tank-to-tank method. Of course, on the onboard trip computer it showed about 18.5, but when I did the tank-to-tank method, it showed about 17 kpl, which in itself isn't bad at all, considering I was traveling with my family with the AC on, and sometimes I was stuck in traffic as well. So good figures because of the engine and the gearbox. But apart from this, what you'll also really enjoy about this car is the ride comfort. Yes, the ride comfort is another positive. It's a big positive, because this car offers you a very good ride. It soaks in the bumps. It offers you a crispy ride. It offers you confidence-inspiring ride when the highway is there, when you're doing speeds in excess of 100 kph. And the city, it just soaks in the bumps without any fuss whatsoever. So yes, for people who always complain about some German cars or some European cars which offer you stiff suspension, no such issues with the Honda City when you're driving it, because the ride comfort of this car generally is very good, first-rate ride comfort, and it's the best car again in this segment, and of course at this price point for sheer ride comfort. Even though it's been around now for about 4 years, it still is a very good looking car and a very smart looking car. And the thing about Honda cars is the fact that they don't age easily. Yes, they take their time to age, and even after 4 or 5 years or 6 years, when it's time to resell these cars, when you look at them, they still look good. Even the Civic, which was launched way back in 2006, is still quite good to look at. When you see it on the road, you might see a 10-year-old car, 11-year-old car, 15-year-old car. Even those cars look quite good, but 15-year-old cars aren't, easily available in Delhi and NCR region. But of course, if you live in Mumbai and some other parts of the country, you can see them. So yes, the Civic, even the last generation of the City, still they look modern and fresh. And even this one, I think, will age quite graciously, like all other Honda cars do, or most Honda cars do. So that's also something you need to keep in mind. So pricing, that's another big positive, because the base version of this car starts from about 12 lakh rupees, and for about 12 lakh rupees you get all the basics: power steering, air conditioning, and of course airbags, as well as ABS is available on that car, the base version. And of course the one next to it gets alloy wheels and stuff like that, which makes it quite a good deal for the price. So what I'm trying to say is that the Honda City is a very well engineered car. It's a good value for money car, and it's a car which will definitely keep you happy in the long run. Well, so in today's video, we saw that the Honda City offers you a very roomy back experience. It offers you a very punchy and very creamy petrol engine. It also offers you premium high quality, and of course, the pricing is the icing on the cake. It really is a car which is a steal at this price, and especially the base version of this car really are phenomenal in terms of the value that they offer. So what I'm trying to say is that if you're in the market for a car between 12 to 18 lakh rupees, forget that compact SUV, forget that mid-size SUV, and simply go to a Honda dealership and check out the City. It really is the best of everything. And of course, it does have one or two issues, because every car does. Which car doesn't have issues? But as a package, it is really phenomenal. I'll give this car a strong score of 92 out of 100. Do remember that the Honda City isn't just any other sedan. It is, at the end of the day, the Honda City. Bye for now, and thanks so much for watching this video.